Hello everybody, my name is Kat Bowser. I am your resident fantasy therapist and welcome to my channel. Those of you who are brand new here, welcome. Those of you who are returning, welcome back. Always good to see you again. Those of you who are coming here for the first time, my name is Kat Bowser. I am a licensed therapist and I'm also an author working on my first novel. So on my channel, I like to dig into the heart of what I love about writing, which is essentially the characters. So you will see a big load of different videos on my channel. But for today, I wanted to do something that I've been wanting to do for a while, and that is to give back a little bit to the self-published community by doing a video book review. So I decided to go with the author who actually first introduced me to AuthorTube by her videos, and that is Jenna Moreci. Her novel that I chose to read and I have reread several times is The Savior's Champion. So this is Jenna's book, The Savior's Champion. This is my personal copy. The edges are starting to get a little worn out. I think I might need to get a hardback copy, Jenna. So for today, I wanted to do my own version of a video review of this book. This will not have spoilers in it. I will reveal a little bit about the plot, but nothing that you probably can't get from the back of the novel. So when I do reviews, I prefer to do them in a specific format, which is basically I want to give a very, very brief synopsis of the book, and then I will go into what I liked about it, what I feel could use improvement, and what I really liked about it. And then I like to add something a little additional at the end, which I will get to when we get there. So the basic premise of The Savior's Champion is we follow our main character Tobias as he enters a tournament to win the hand of the savior, or essentially the magical queen of the land, but it also provides his family with coin. And we are essentially following him through everything that the tournament entails, all the challenges and things of that nature. There's a lot more to it, but like I said, I don't want to give away too much, and the book goes through quite a few obstacles and different relationships and things of that nature that I won't go into because you're going to have to read the book for that. Alright, so what did I like about this book? I do feel that Jenna has a very good sense of pace. As you read through the chapters, I'm always wanting to get to the next chapter. She gives just enough to move the plot along, but leaves you wanting a little more. I originally started out saying I'm only going to read a couple chapters, and I think I plowed through about half of the book. So she does that very well. I also think that she develops characters fairly well. I really like all the characters in this novel. I think that they are fairly well developed, even the ones that we don't see that much of. I really appreciate how she gives each one a little bit of an individual personality, even if you won't see them that much. And given that I love characters, that's easily what I love the most about it. Kind of piggying off the point about the characters, I really like how Jenna develops relationships in this book. There is a romance that crops up, and I really enjoy how it is slowly built. It's not out of nowhere, but you can also see the signs of it coming, and I appreciate that. And not just the romantic relationships, but anytime these characters interact, I really love it. Even if it's not the main character and he's just observing other characters interacting, I really get into how they talk to one another, how they feed off of one another, how they get underneath one another's skin. That is really enjoyable, and I feel like it's very realistic. So what do I think needs a little work in this novel? And I always like to phrase it like that because for me there's a difference between if I dislike something because it's not my taste, and if I dislike something because it's just something that needs to be developed or worked on a little more. I really do think that novels, for the most part, it's very hard for me to picture one that is like objectively horribly bad unless it deals with some material that I just think has no redeeming qualities whatsoever. And that is definitely not the case with The Savior's Champion. So if I was to identify some things that I feel could use a little work, I will touch a little bit on the world building. Jenna has said that world building is not her forte, and the world building is there. I mean, it's not absent. You can definitely feel the Greek or Roman influence in it. But I think that there are a couple of missed opportunities to delve into it a little more that would have made the world feel a little bit richer. So that's something I'd like to have seen more of. The other thing is some of the language. I'm going to say right here, it is a crude book. It's an adult book. I got no problem with the crudeness. And in some cases, I think is definitely called for. But there definitely seems to be, I'll call it a disconnect, because sometimes the way the characters are talking, they have a specific style, and then suddenly it will shift into a slew of foul language that just doesn't seem to mesh with what came before it. I'm of the opinion that everybody, just like everybody has their own style of speaking, everybody has their own style of cursing. And it doesn't seem like there's much differentiation between the characters when it comes to that. So I think that could probably have used a little bit of work. But it doesn't take me out of the novel. It's just something that I kind of noticed. And I'll bring it up just because I'm sure other people have brought it up. There is a certain predictability to the plot, but honestly, I kind of feel like that can apply to a lot of different books. I mean, because fantasy, and anytime you have a journey or a quest, I kind of feel like there's a degree of predictability, and that's definitely here, but it was never to the point where I was sitting back and calling play by play what was going to happen. So I personally don't see that as a weakness area, but I know some people will, so I'll bring it up. So what are some things that I really, really like about this book? I touched on it a little earlier, and that is the characters. I absolutely love these characters, even if, like I said, they're the secondary or even third tier characters that we really don't get to know much about. I really like how she gives them a individuality to them. I love how a lot of them have a very different physicality. A lot of them have a very different way of speaking, way of interpreting things, and that's really interesting to me. And like I said, I love characters, so anything that has to do with developing characters, I'm going to eat up. And I'd like to bring up something because my husband also likes this book, and he mentioned to me, he said, "Is this written by a woman?" I said, "Yes." And he kind of looked at me, he's a little bit flabbergasted, and I asked him why. He said, because the relationship she writes between male characters, male and male, is spot on. And that is really hard for a female writer to do. And reading back through it again, yeah, I mean, that is something that I know a lot of writers do struggle with, is when we're writing for the opposite gender, we sometimes have difficulty picking up on the little nuances that the other gender does when they interact or communicate with one another. And I really think Jenna nails it in this novel. I totally believe these male interactions with one another. I will also bring up that I do like that the magic that she includes in this book is it's there and it's important, but that doesn't take the center focus. The center focus stays where it should be, on the characters. And in fantasy in particular, it can be easy to let magic overrule the storyline, and I'm really glad she doesn't do that. Alright, so this is the section of my video that I feel like I can add my own little personal twang to, so to speak. And that is, whenever I read a novel, I can't help but look at the psychological issues that are brought up in it. Being a counselor, I can't not look at it. So what I've decided to do is, when I read through a novel that has psychological issues brought up, and that could be as simple as whether the development of the age range makes sense, or it could be something as severe as potential mental illnesses, I want to rank them on how realistic I feel they are. And Given that we are on the current DSM-5, I figure I'll rank it from 1 to 5. 1 being there's no real, well, there's not no realism, but the realism is very, 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 very minimal, and 5 being almost perfect. There's almost nothing wrong with it. So for the Savior's Champion, I would rank it about a 4 out of 5. And like I said, I don't want to give any spoilers away, but there is touching on PTSD. There is touching on mental delay. There is touching on anxiety and self-confidence, and a little bit of narcissism comes in there. And I think overall she does address it very, very well. When it is addressed appropriately. She takes into account the issue of triggers. She takes into account how a certain mental capacity would have someone speak, and it's all done extremely respectfully and accurately. But I wouldn't go to give her the full 5, simply because you see a lot of this stuff with the main character, not so much with the other characters when perhaps there should have been. And again, I can't go into great detail on that without going into spoiler territory, so I would just leave it at, when she does address it, it is done very, very well. It is done very accurately, but I don't feel she addresses it enough with people who are not the main center focus, when perhaps that should be mentioned a little bit. So overall, I really enjoyed this book. It's actually been a long time since I really got into a book as much as I have with this one. I definitely will be looking for her future books. Now, I will say again, this is an adult dark fantasy novel. If you guys are not into coarse language, references to sex, violence, gore, things like that, this probably isn't for you. But from a strict writing perspective, I really think she hit a lot of the right notes, save for the few issues that I did bring up. But I would definitely recommend that you pick up this book if you are into any kind of dark fantasy or the fantasy genre in general. So thanks, Jenna, for giving us a great story, and I look forward to The Savior's Sister when it comes out. So overall, how would I rank The Savior's Champion? Taking into account the things that I liked, the things that I really liked, the things that I feel need work, and overall the psychological accuracy of it, 4 out of 5. It's not perfect. I'm not saying it is. But I do feel the things that Jenna gets right are the most important things that you should get right. So, full recommendation for me. So thank you guys for slipping in for my first book review. I know it was probably a much shorter than most of my videos are, but I don't like going into spoiler territory when I'm reviewing a book. And a lot of times, especially with books like this, you really can't talk about too much without giving something away. So, thank you guys again for stopping in. I do have another book that I'm currently reading that I'm hoping to review soon. If you guys have recommendations for self-published books that you would want me to read in the future, please let me know below. I will check them out. Fantasy is my primary genre, but if a book is very well written, I will almost give anything a shot. So thank you guys for stopping by. Look for another video from me later this week. And until then, if you guys enjoyed my content, as always, leave comments if you have any suggestions, and you can always follow me on social media. So until next time, I will see you guys soon, and take care.